you know, some folks will probably know better, but then they see a picture. We're in the age of AI, and even before that, we're in the age of the internet. If it all it takes is a picture, you're done for. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're swimming in waters that are dangerous for you. Um, Exit fishy out of water as soon as possible. So let's start out with the why, actually. Videos about how to succeed on Filipino Cupid. But let's talk about why. I'm going to guess this probably isn't your first video that you're watching, and this isn't the first moment of you considering the possibility of going to find a partner in the Philippines. So I'm sure that you've heard on some of these YouTube videos about why you should want to be with a Filipina as a partner. The kindness, the beauty, the considerate nature, the nurturing spirit, the support, just how they make you feel is incredible. And I think that I find myself feeling newly, day in and day out, what it means to have succeeded in this process. And I can't express how amazing it is. So you think it's going to be good. At least in my experience, it can be so much better. So that being said, we'll get started. And from there, it's all about knowing what you're looking for, just like anywhere else. If you go into a grocery store and you're just winging it, there's a good chance that when you get home and you go to make dinner, there's some good ingredients there, but somewhere along the way, it's just not right. You name it. I'm pretty sure this metaphor can be applied in a lot of directions. And so, particularly whenever the options, the different ingredients, the different women can be so attractive for different reasons. But you have to ask yourself, is this the right reason for me? So in my case, for instance, in terms of like the traditional stereotype of a Westerner going to the Philippines, I'm actually quite young. But at 36, like, I've lived the fun life. I've went out. I've been there, done that. And so the idea of having to chase some young lady around a club scene is there's not a like physical beauty out there that could make that worth it for me. Not even a little bit. So for me, I understood that I wanted someone who had a work ethic, who had a bit of clarity about where they see themselves now and going forward in the future. And that might sound kind of vague, but within a few conversations, you start to find out, no, like, the difference is real. And for me, I think that really comes down to the differences, like, are you talking to a woman or, a young lady still working her way in that direction? And for me, that matters. That's important. I am interested in a partner that I can experience all aspects of life with equal joy, not just, the shallower. I don't even want to say that to put anybody down, but I'm not going after somebody just based on their physical appearance, though I have, done pretty well in that category as well, given that she is gorgeous. She who? Look at the channel. Dak and she. So, knowing what you're looking for is super important, because it's not as if, the ladies that are trying to get you, who are representing something that may not be good for you, they're not going to tell you that themselves. Like, it's quite the opposite. Like, they're still trying to get you. what you mean or could mean for their life, and even for just their momentary entertainment. They're human too. They have an invested interest in you falling for whatever it is that they are putting out there. So that's why you got to take this stuff serious, and you have to take the accountability on your own shoulders to think this out, to have clarity, and to go looking for the right thing for you. Next, onward. All right, organization. And what do I mean there? So, in any instance, to keep something clean and organized is of benefit. And in this instance, I'm going to be talking about whatever your dating app is, in this case, Filipina Cupid. You want to consider what it means to clean house, keep things orderly. And so I can tell you from my own experience with Filipina Cupid, almost every day I would wake up, I would have numerous messages from all kinds of women, bots, from places that weren't the Philippines. Immediately, I started to understand block, 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 block. So when you hear folks complain about like, oh, like, you know, there's so much this or that on these apps, or like I wasted so much time, in some cases that says more about them than it does the app. So if you start to have some basic principle reactions to the things that are the least desirable, that happen the most, like getting these messages from these women that are from Ukraine or from Dallas, Texas, any place but the Philippines, if you give that 0% time, whereas what I would almost assume happens quite often, that men, even if they have a little inkling of like, ooh, that doesn't seem right, this is Filipina Cupid, not Ukrainian Cupid, okay. But then they see a picture, and then it's, you know, this is the problem that you're going to have throughout this app experience, is the wrong direction is still going to be a very tempting direction if you're not thinking with clarity. And so, you know, some folks will probably know better, but then they see a picture. We're in the age of AI, and even before that, we're in the age of the internet. If it all it takes is a picture, you're done for. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're swimming in waters that are dangerous for you. Exit, fishy out of water as soon as possible. More on that later in terms of how clear it is that the picture leads many, many, many men down the wrong path. So, cleaning house and filtering down. Any women that come up that are from anywhere other than the Philippines, block immediately. Moreover, from there, if they're overly positive, and it won't be hard, think of this constantly as data. You have data coming in as to like what's a basic norm message from a Filipino woman. If it's like too far outside of that in terms of the, oh, hun, baby, whatever it is, to make a number, 2 pet names and 1 message, if they go over that, block immediately, because that's not a real conversation. Because again, try and decipher the difference between what is kind of amazing and story-like about this, which is the nature of these Filipino women is mwah, but we're still working within the confines of real life here, and that is extremely important to keep in mind. So it's not going to be that kind of amazing where like they're treating you like a movie star the entire time. Like, again, they're also humans. So if you're getting kind of like a wildly over the top positive experience, it's not real. It's not real. Block. So from there, you got to think about things, or you should think about things in advance, about age that you're comfortable with or that you're interested in. I will tell you that in my experience so far, this is probably one of the most interesting aspects I've experienced in terms of where I had gotten my head in advance and prepared. So I was pretty fearful of getting with someone too young, and honestly, she being 25, I would have probably said that's too young, me 36. not through like a numbers standpoint as much as just like an experience, what life means to you kind of thing. And there can be a large divide there for very good reasons. And so thankfully I was not too hard on this rule, because she ended up being amazing. And actually, we'll get to how I filtered down the number of women I was talking to, but when I got down to the point of that last group of women, everyone else was a few years older than her. She was actually the youngest one, and still seemed to be, in my opinion, the best spoken, had great mental clarity, had quick wit, just an absolute pleasure to speak with. And we spoke at length, and again, we'll get to that too in terms of where that fits into the process and why getting people in a conversational format outside of texting as soon as possible is a huge ingredient to success. But from there, yes, then you already have guaranteed women that are in the Philippines, which sounds simple, but when you start using the app, you'll see what I mean. Then you have the age that you're interested in. You got that filtered down. You've blocked any overly positive messages, and I didn't exactly say why. I mean, I guess I thought it was intuitive a little bit, but I think I should mention the why, which is that represents freeing yourself of a lot of scam potential. The fake accounts from everywhere around the world, more obvious. But the scam potential of those that are being really, really sweet, even if it takes them a while, the likelihood is that you're getting played. So just avoid it from the beginning. And now what you've done is you've taken such a huge percent of most people's common complaints, and you've separated, like you've cleared those out. The likelihood of that happening now to you personally and ruining your experience is so much lower. So you have just massively raised the chances of success. So congratulations. Onward from there. So now you have your app operating at like operational, best. From there, the important thing is get these women off of this app into WhatsApp as soon as possible. So WhatsApp is, I'm sure most of you know, but if you don't, it's a communication app that will allow you to chat with people in different countries. Works great in terms of text and calls and video calls. So you're not limited. And yes, this from the very beginning ensures that you're talking to a real person. And it presents data still, but in a different format. And why that's important is because auditorily, for instance, sorry to get too detailed here, but being honest, and if you want to succeed, it takes effort sometimes, even if that sounds off-putting. But you will hear that person speak for the first time. And so immediately you have something to base every interaction from there forward off of. If that voice changes up in any way, shape, or form, red flag, obviously. But then from there, in terms of just comparison's sake, you start to get important details. What does that person sound like when they're talking, when they're laughing, when they're excited, etc. That's important, particularly because they're likely going to be big fans of karaoke. You're going to want to know what they sound like. When you get them off of Filipina Cupid, it opens up a lot of doors, because as soon as you're not texting, there's a lot more communication pressure. And I don't mean pressure in a bad way, but like you have to meet the moment. And that'll tell you a lot about their English skills, because far too often in travel and being abroad, it's easy to be amazed, because especially like I speak one language, so anyone that even kinda or remotely speaks pretty good English, who that's their second language, I'm amazed and impressed. And while that's pretty reasonable human reaction, don't make too much of that, because life is complex. Moments come in all shapes and sizes. sort of conversations about those moments. And so the depth of their English skills is going to be really important. And for more reasons than like what it might sound like. Because I can tell you from personal experience, she speaks great English, but of course, like, she's not where ultimately she's going to end up being. She's not extremely fluent. And it really doesn't lead at this point in time to any shortcomings at all, because I feel like we've talked enough that we have the understanding of like greater vibe between each other. So there's a lot of communication now that can go on much more subtly. And then there's also just like trust over certain topics, like where you can make like safe assumptions with each other because we know each other better. But in the long run, even with she, we're going to get her lessons and everything so that when she does visit America, and just while we're abroad, any moment where she may need greater English skills, I just want her to have those, because I want her to be able to fit in any moment and to feel a part, just because I care about that person. So anyways, the language skills thing, definitely going to be up to you, what you're interested in. So you get that benefit of seeing what their language skills are like. You also get the chance to practice your detective skills. So what are you seeing? Where are they calling you from? What's the environment like? Is it hectic? Is it consistent? Maybe it is a lot of things, but if it's consistent, maybe a lot of those things are just fine. Like, you plan on building a new life with this person. So, I'm not trying to, I would not actually encourage you at all to judge, on a quality of life basis, as much as just what kind of person are you dealing with. Are you getting called from their home because when they're not at work, they're going home, or they're going to the gym, or they're working out? Or are you getting called from, bars and restaurants? Are you getting called from friends' houses and random places all the time? That should tell you a lot about that person's lifestyle if you're paying attention. For instance, if there's a cat in the video, she probably likes cats. Anyway, this is Pepper. But there's a lot of data and information to be gathered in a video call. Make sure that you're aware and considering what you want to pay attention to and why. And be actively questioning, but not from a condescending place, but from a curiosity place, because maybe you'll find something about an answer along the way that you don't like, and it leads you to end up looking elsewhere, a relationship with a different Filipina. You've still learned, and that matters a lot. So get on the video call, start learning, see what they are like under the pressure. Again, I hate to put it like that, but there's some truth there. You're kind of looking directly into a screen and talking to a stranger who you're hoping to build a life with. And there's a lot of ways that can go. I encourage you to have a lot of fun with it. Be okay with laughing. Be okay with, a little bit of silence. But also, in the beginning particularly, be a leader. Have some things prepared. Have a few questions. Have a few statements. Have some things about yourself that you might want to share. Being a leader is not just saying the right thing at exactly particular moments. It's a sense of preparedness, and I'm going to tell you that being prepared throughout this process is going to, with she, it gets a great reaction out of her, and those are the things about myself that I want to be rewarded for. I'm proud of being prepared and dedicated and invested in anything I'm doing. And so the fact that she responds so favorably to that is delightful. Like, that keeps the cycle going, and me becoming a better person, and her getting to benefit from it, and our relationship being stronger. It's pretty ideal. All right, we'll pause halfway through here for a quick tip that is not on this list, and that is to avoid I think it's trending, or like the hot accounts, like the recently trending. Basically, there's a tab that will give you a list of the women that are getting the most traction right now. One massive problem: they're all fake. The only time that I looked at that list, I think twice, they were so fake. So what that tells me is that there's a lot of men out there who want to believe that they have a shot going after incomprehensibly stunning young women. And again, if that's where you're starting, fair. I don't want to belittle you by any means. It's probably tough enough, honestly, starting out. But you need to be listening. You need to be working and actively putting in the effort, because you could be risking a lot. If you put in the work and you show up prepared, though, you're setting yourself up for a lot again, but it's a lot of positive. So this pendulum could, shift in a lot of directions, and I really hope that you invest in yourself and your experience. You and your future Filipina deserve it and will massively benefit from it. All right, so another consideration for once you get onto WhatsApp and you are talking more and doing video calls, preface there, if they refuse video calls and have hang-ups with that, move on. Regardless of the reason, you want the data from video calls. It's going to make your journey safer, more secure, and more trustworthy, and your relationship with whoever you're talking to on the other end will benefit from that greatly. So no video call, no relationship. But once you're on those video calls, pay attention and be intentional about your conversational material. The questions you ask are going to be some of the most important elements of that conversation. And you got to think about what purpose they serve. Are you asking questions that are going to serve some low-hanging, shallow fruit purposes, like, getting nudes, or bragging about yourself? Avoid that. Because if you invest in questions that help you understand this person, you're going to find new avenues to connect with that person over meaningful topics. You're going to find the antidote to those awkward silences, those moments where you're just staring at each other. Like, that's how you grow through those. There's nothing special that happens. You do the work and put effort into what you're doing. That's how you get past that. So if you get stuck in a rut where these conversations aren't fulfilling, make sure that before you start doing this, you start asking yourself, am I putting both of us in a position to succeed during these calls? Am I even considering what it means to create a successful call? Because those are all things that you need to think about. All right, and to wrap things up a bit here, trust in the numbers. I would get 20, 30, 40 messages a day. Trust in the numbers. And why I say that is because I don't want you feeling like you're on a razor's edge in every conversation, because it can be quite exciting. And thus, when things, when you find red flags, if you lose track of how many possibilities there are, you're going to start making excuses for those red flags and reasons to look past them. You do not want to do that. You do not need to do that, because you can trust in the numbers. You're going to have more messages, and with messages, you have opportunity. So trust in the numbers, and as you move through those numbers, you learn to trust in the process. And the process being that you use your filtering, you use your intentions, knowing what you're looking for, and you continue to move through the list of messages that you get. And from there, I encourage you to keep a controlled number of WhatsApp conversations, a number that you limit it at. For me, that was 5. Even then, pretty much as soon as they got into the app, I started getting information, I started getting feedback from my experiences with them, and I would, pretty naturally have kind of a ranking. And if if a lady was at the bottom of that 5 on WhatsApp for too long, then that kind of tells you enough. And I encourage you to gracefully end your conversations with the women who you're not going to move forward with. Recognize that you may likely not have a clue of just how excited a real Filipina has been to connect with you, have a chance, an opportunity. They may have really told their friends, their family. So try to really find the time and the decency to let them down gently and with respect. It'll go a long way. It's just the type of stuff make the world a better place. And yeah, other than that, so overall, I want to make it clear that you'll hear definitive takes on dating apps abroad. It's like any other tool, it's how you use it. There's a real laziness to just saying oh, that avenue is no good. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Stay away. I mean, if you plan on being lazy and not really putting in the effort, stay away. Again, you are an inexperienced, lazy fishy swimming in dangerous waters, and your best bet is to exit. But that's a choice. You can also make the choice to invest, put in effort, use some tactics such as the one I've shared with you today, and find your success, because you can. I was on and off Filipina Cupid in under, I forget, 2 weeks, maybe not even that, super short amount of time, because I took it serious and I got a seriously positive result, and I hope you do too. So from those of us at the Dak and She Show, she being unavailable this evening because she worked overnight last night, so can't even do the math right now, but an unfathomable amount of hours in the last few days. So she will have to get back with us. That's why I chose to do this video. It's one that I thought I could safely do from my perspective only. So hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you have any experiences that run contrary to some of this advice. Let me know if you've used some of these approaches to find your own success. And we'll keep this conversation going in the comments. Bye-bye.